All right, we're live, man. Welcome back to another post-game show today on Christmas. First off, real quick, let me close some stuff in the background here. First off, real quick, Merry Christmas to everybody out there, man. Hopefully you've enjoyed your day today, specifically. Hopefully you've had a good day. I don't know, maybe week. Maybe you're going to continue to meet up with friends, family, whatever that may be. Hopefully you had a great time, man, because this wasn't, man. This was bad, man. This was a rough watch. Obviously, I would have liked to live stream it. Didn't live stream it with it being on Christmas, but still sat there, still took notes. And this was kind of like that game against the Ravens we played a few years ago, where I was kind of like a little bit glad after the fact. It's like, you know what? Maybe it wasn't the worst thing that I couldn't go live for that. maybe it was the worst thing that I kind of had to miss some of that game a little bit. And this one was unfortunately my biggest takeaway. So a lot of this I'm going to have to rewatch to get a better sense, but the biggest thing that kind of sticks with me after watching this game, I thought it would be close. I thought it'd be competitive. I thought Minnesota would score. Honestly, I think we did better defensively than I expected. But the one thing that I think stood out to me, right, was the same issue that has really plagued us the entire season, as a team. And this is across the board. Things that the Lions can control, and we've had 6, 7 of those things, 8 issues that we'll say every single week will pop up, little things, right? Little error where Isaac Tesla is maybe not close enough to actually pick up a block. It'll be things like that. Once again, the things that the Lions felt like, and these were even more obvious. So I know there's going to be little things in here that pop up, but the controllables, the things that you primarily control, the Lions were abysmal in that category. And they essentially what felt like completely just gave this football game away. I mean, you're at the point right now where personnel-wise, I don't come in expecting the Lions are going to go out there and dominate a football team. I didn't expect them to dominate the Vikings. I didn't think that was possible, to be honest with you, because the Lions don't have it up front. And we've talked about this, so none of this is new. The Lions don't have it up front. They can't lean on teams like they typically would. So it makes our margin for error very small, way smaller than it typically is. And it's kind of the same thing in secondary, which is why I'm pretty positive on actually how the defense played. I thought they gave us a chance in this game until the end, which again was the same issue that popped up, and it's popped up for the last few weeks. I mean, unfortunately, this is no surprise that we get beat on a jet. A jet handoff scores a touchdown and ends the game, essentially. I mean, that's not a big shock, right? That's what's been happening the last few weeks. I mean, we watched it last week twice. Pittsburgh hands 2 jet runs, both of them pop, easy first downs. And schematically, you're looking at it, and you're like, okay, we're in some coverages here, or maybe we don't get better eyes into the backfield. But ultimately, those are just easy yards that you're giving away. And we've done that for weeks. And it's only fitting that the thing that comes back and essentially puts a dagger in your season is the exact thing that you've continued to have issues with. These are not things that you can't control. These are things that you can control. And unfortunately, you're going to look at coaching for a lot of these because a lot of these are small, just minimal errors that it's like, hey, that's in your ballpark. If you miss a tackle, he makes you miss. That's one thing. It's another thing that I have an opportunity to make the play, right? So, and that's what's happened. Now, that said, things that we can control that the players can make plays, and you understand that some of this is where you're at injury-wise. But at the same time, Kingsley got the nod today. And I don't think, Chad, I could be missing. You'll have to let me know. I don't think Graham Glasgow was inactive today. Maybe he was and I missed it. I thought the inactives came up and he was active, so it threw me off that he wasn't starting. But you guys will definitely let me know what was going on there. Point is, they gave Kingsley the nod regardless of how it shook out. And honestly, I wasn't mad at it. After how he played last week, I would have probably also considered doing the same thing, right? Regardless of where the health was for Graham, I didn't have an issue with giving Kingsley the nod at all. Also, Mahogany wasn't out there. We lost Penei Sewell at a point. Penei Sewell came back. We had Dan Skipper playing left tackle. I mean, you were at a point in this game where it was like, okay, offensive line-wise, it's not in a good spot. And unfortunately, we felt that a lot in this game. We felt it, of course, with some between him and Goff, miscommunication errors. And we're turning the football over. I mean, literally, the entire first half was, okay, we're moving the ball a little bit. We're actually not running horribly. And then we just give them the football. And it's like, here you go. We don't actually want to score here. And it's like, okay, this game should not have 0 points. Like it shouldn't have been one drive score. There's no reason. I honestly, watching that second turnover, is like, this got to be fake, bro. This got to be a lie. There's no chance that they challenged the fact that we didn't pick up a first down. It became a 3rd down and 1. And we muffed the snap. Bro, you can't tell me that's real. There's no way that just actually happened, and it did. And unfortunately, that's been a lot of the season. I mean, and to add on to that, if we continue to work through this, the most devastating part is as you continue to go through this, a false start on 4th and 1. Those are the kind of things that you have to believe as a coaching staff and as a fan, those are the most frustrating, right? It's a 4th down and 1. You're near midfield, and you have a false start. And again, is it the typical players? Is Sam Laporta doing that? No, right? It's Richie, or however you say the dude's last name. I apologize, the tight end. But those kind of things, we've said it all year as these replacements have come in. And we've said, hey, look, we understand it's not this normal starter. It's someone else that's in that spot, so we can just point to that and be like, hey, move on. But the reality is we've had way too many of those. And every single one of those have felt incredibly timely because of the fact that our margin for error is also smaller at this time because we can't push teams around. And, one thing that we talked about pregame-wise was the biggest difference that was going to be the case, and it was the case last time we played this team, and it was going to be the case again, is that last time we played Minnesota, we lost. We threw the ball pretty well. But in that game, one thing that we couldn't do was we couldn't find explosives through the run game. There was no consistency rushing football. We ran for 3 yards a carry. And that was a difference. That's a major difference between this Detroit Lions and the past Detroit Lions when they could just do that. And when you have a team like Minnesota and you understand they're going to stack the line of scrimmage and you have to find answers for that, the Lions don't have a consistent answer for that right now, unfortunately, right? That's one of the biggest things that's very easy to take away is they don't have a good answer for it consistently because their answer has to be passing the football because they can't just lean on the ground game. But the unfortunate part to that, again, is that they weren't completely abysmal rushing the football in the first half. They weren't. They actually had some success in there, and they got Monty going a little bit. But every single drive ended essentially the exact same way in the first half. Really, the first 5 of 6 drives felt like they ended the same way over and over. And it was kind of the fitting way that this season should end, that it should come to a close, is, hey, man, you beat yourselves. Everything you could control, you did not, and you let them take this from you. You gave them that. And unfortunately, that's been how the seasons went all season long. I mean, we go to the first drive offensively, and we're moving the ball a little bit here. We're moving the ball a little bit, but you get a false start on a 4th down and 3. Now, understand, that's no guarantee you're going to get that. But to already start there first, that you had a false start on a 4th down and 3 again. And now this one, I don't really blame on it. I thought this was a referee mistake, but it's going to show up as a false start. We're going to look back on it that way. I think it was clearly offside. But in that drive, you have a 2nd down and 6. You give up a sack. You had no answer for the fact that they sent Harrison Smith. They constantly put 7 guys on the line of scrimmage, which you already know is a challenge to deal with. It did feel glaring, though, the inconsistencies that we had at understanding and picking that up and having a good answer for it. Because it's like either one, you're going to have somebody that's always unblocked, right? You're always going to have that, so you anticipate that. Or number 2, you have to have an extra body in there. And when the Lions continue to put 6 guys in protection, you know that you're going to have a number that's not blocked. Right? Every time you could have a guy that's just not blocked. So what is your plan to deal with that? And obviously the Lions couldn't go to the run game to deal with that. So in the passing attack, there was just way more inconsistency than you would typically see. But here's the thing. And I can understand this, right? Your opponent's going to make plays. This is a good Minnesota defense. They're always a problem with what they can throw at you. And the fact that I didn't think we'd run the ball that well was kind of a reality check of like, yeah, they're going to make plays. You can understand that's going to be the case, but you shouldn't have had 1 touchdown drive in the first half. There's no reason you scored 1 time in the first half because your next drive, you fumbled. You get to a 3rd and 1. You're actually running the ball a little bit. It's a manageable down. I think we sneaked in and would have had the first down, and you fumble the snap. I understand Kingsley's in there. Still can't happen. Doesn't matter because, again, it's kind of like we said in the pregame show. The next man up mentality is only a real mentality if the next man up is actually doing his job. That's all it is. And you can put that on Golf Kings or whatever you want to be. That's all it is. Right? You expect a lower level of play, but things that you can control can't all of a sudden just be given away. That's not next man up. That's just the next guy is there, so he's playing football. That's not next man up mentality. That's not having the next guy prepared. Or having a guy that would be prepared in that spot. And this has been a constant theme. If it was just this game, it would be one thing. But the fact that every single week, we come back here and we point to different players that aren't typically starters that are making mistakes, false start, illegal formation, 2 guys in motion. And you're like, how is this happening? At some point, these got to go away. We're not super high in penalties, but dude, it cannot keep happening. And sometimes it's not even pre-snap penalties. It's just mid-snap. It's during the play. The execution during the play. And we've had too much of that. And again, I think that it continues to be expanded and continues to be highlighted because of the fact that you don't have the same margin for error that you typically would. Now, there were some positives that the Lions had, and we'll get to those in a second, but let's just continue with what the heck went wrong to get this thing started to not have points. I mean, your next drive, think about it. Your next drive, you found some success. There's a 4-yard run in there. It's second down and 6. That's a manageable down. Jahmyr Gibbs fumbles. Now, it would have been a short gain, but Jahmyr Gibbs fumbles. Okay, now you turn it over again. You are moving the football. You're at the Minnesota midfield, and you turn it over. Then you go down, you score your touchdown. You come out of half. You get to a 4th and 1, and this was on you. You jump for a false start. All but one drive, and especially if you include that drive that probably should have been an offside call. You beat yourselves. You beat yourself. And that's the frustrating part, because you're right. We are banged up. And again, that's why, to me, this team that they've been is no shock. Right? It's not a shock that it's like, hey, man, we have some issues and we just have some limitations. I think every team does. You find a way to work around them. But the most frustrating thing for me is very clearly the idea of next man up cannot be the next man up is the guy that makes the mistake every single time. That you could just point to, well, it's the young guy. He came in and then he, made a mistake. Like, you can't do that every single time. Every single week. Every single week we do that. That's not next man up, man. And unfortunately, that's going to be the easiest thing to point to in terms of coaching. That is questionable. How does this happen? And if you don't want to point to coaching, then Brad has to take accountability for that. We don't have the guys. We don't have the depth that's stepping in and make this happen. And again, it's not even a performance thing. It's not a performance thing. For the most part, it's just these are guys that are just making mental errors constantly. Not even performance. I expect the performance drop off. I expect when Decker's not in there for it to be a little bit worse. But you shouldn't feel all the little things constantly. And I think we've had that all season long. Now, one of the positives, defensively, one thing we talked about coming in was, hey, make them work for it on 3rd down and long. Don't give them that. Because we did it last time we played Minnesota. We gave it to them. Now, I understand. Brosmer's in the game. You expect things to be different, and it was. I mean, I don't think they had but 10 passing yards. I mean, they had like no passing success at all. It was insane. They had 51 passing yards, but if you take away the sacks, they technically had 3 as a team, minus 48 sacks. They had 0 passing success, to be honest. They had essentially none in this game. And that's great. And on 3rd down, they were 3 of 13. 2 things that you can live with, 2 things that you're happy about, and you understood that last time we gave them answers. You showed cover 0, and they exploited it. And it was like, hey, man, you just gave them a screen. You couldn't do that. You didn't do that. So I'm proud of them for that, defensively, to not just give them outs. But I still am frustrated by the fact that we got beat on a jet handoff. That's the thing that cost us. Because up to that point, I really had felt like the defensive backs run support was there. I mean, at very least, the aggression was there. You felt it. You felt Thomas Harper hitting people. You felt it constantly. You felt the DBs getting involved in the run game. And that was something that I felt we had been missing. Our DB run support. We talked about it last week. The big runs that happened, yeah, you could be better up front, but they shouldn't turn into 40 yards. That's because your DBs aren't fitting the run at all. They're not fitting the run at all. They're just walking through. They get to that next level, and they're gone. This week, they were hitting people. And up to that point, I was very positive through the game. I was like, man, they're hitting guys. This is cool. This is good to see. But for the game to end on the exact same thing that Pittsburgh got us was coming out of half. On a short motion, cornerback's eyes don't get to the backfield. He gets strung out to the outside. We have nobody out there to give us support. And he's walking to the end zone. Some of this was going to change schematically, and it felt like, again, in this game, we put a lot more zone coverage. And I think some of that was going to be baked in because you're playing Minnesota, and that's how the Lions like to play them. They like to play them with a lot of the zone. And I think that was a quarters play where they ended up punching us for the touchdown, which, again, you may struggle to get your eyes in the backfield from the cornerback position, but not from safety. If you're in quarters, there's no reason that the safety doesn't see that. There's no reason that happens. His eyes should be back there. So it's another frustrating way for the game to just kind of walk off just like that. And it felt like kind of meant to be, unfortunately, that's how the game should have ended. It should have been a walk-off just like that, because that's what you've done all season long. You've earned that. You get to the second half, and again, we continue to turn the ball over. We talked about that first drive, beating yourselves, not giving yourself an opportunity. You throw the interception, which is set up by a sack. It's 3rd and forever. And look, the only reason we had the touchdown drive is because we continue to convert 3rd and forever. I mean, the fact that we constantly had ourselves in that position and we continue to move the ball was nuts. Like that whole touchdown drive was nuts. I was like, I don't know how we're still going forward here. This should not even be happening. We kept going forward. But again, that's not a 1-game sample size. Unfortunately, that's been the Lions for the last 5 weeks. That's been the Lions for the last 5 weeks. They've overcome in the passing game. They've had to overcome in the passing game. And that's what their offense has become, is they just throw the football. And the unfortunate part, again, is you actually didn't run the ball completely terribly in the first half. Now, you had no explosives, but you had a little bit of movement. At least you were pushing back. Monty got going a bit. And then you turn it over. You essentially took yourself out of that game. You get to the second half, it feels like the run game's not even part of the football game anymore. So at least you had something going in the first half from a run game perspective. At least there was some movement being created. But the same thing that has been the issue for the last few weeks for the Lions, which is they essentially are just becoming a full-on pass team. They have to throw the ball all the time. The passing game is keeping them alive when a false start pushes them back, when it's second and long, when it's third and long. That's the only reason we had the touchdown drive. We converted 3 third and forevers, which was nuts. And then we scored on a fourth down. And then we hit Tesla on a fourth down. Now, we should have had to pass before we missed it. But that's the only reason we scored that possession. And it's like, that's not a way to live. You can't live like that. And unfortunately, for a playoff team's not going to last playing games like that. You know, the playoffs are nice because the idea of, hey, man, if we just get in, we give ourselves a chance. It only takes one, right? We just had to be better than the team on that day. Maybe the other team would have had muff snaps, right? You give yourselves a chance. So you would have liked to have that opportunity. But unfortunately, from where does your team stack up against the best in football, that team doesn't stack up against the best in football. That team could maybe outplay somebody on a given day. Maybe they have the skill set to do it, but they're not consistent enough to do it. They're not clean enough to do it. Every single week, you can't have a backup step in and make mistakes. You can't have that every single week because those are your guys now. They're no longer backups, they're starters. They say it about the young guys, right? But you constantly have those. And you get to the point where in this game, you become a full-on passing team once again. You have an interception, which the first one I wasn't completely mad at. The second one was obviously bad. Good play by Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith was a nightmare for us. My goodness. That guy's like 47 years old. Bro, can we put a call in for Harrison Smith this offseason? That guy's always a free agent. I mean, my goodness. I just want that guy on my team. I want to stop dealing with that dude. Even if he never plays, just put him on our dang bench. I'm tired of dealing with Harrison Smith. Every single year we got to deal with this dude. I'm sick of it, man. Gosh, man, I'm tired of dealing with that guy. But that said, the first interception, at least the idea behind it was somewhat reasonable. It was somewhat reasonable because it was like, hey, man, it's third and forever. I think they went Tampa 2. He pushed the seam. That's where you were going to find your shot plays. That's where everybody finds their shot plays against this team. That's where that opportunity is going to be there. It wasn't there. They took it away. But the fact that you were in a 3rd and 18 is the reason that happens. It's not the fact that it's, hey, man, you tried to take a shot on 3rd and 18 through a pick. Oh, that's awful. It's the fact that you were in a 3rd and 18 in the first place, which is the nightmare of all of it. You shouldn't have been in that position. It shouldn't have been a 3rd down and 18. I want to go find my notes to figure out why we were exactly in that position. I know we had a sack that led up to that, and I don't know what it was. We'll have to figure that out. It's disappointing. You had 5 sacks against this team the first time, and at this time, would you have 8, 9 sacks, 7, 8, 9? I mean, it was ridiculous. You had a ridiculous amount of sacks that you took in this game. It was insane how many sacks you took in this game. And again, I think it's because you're getting forced to live in that world. Then you get the ball back and immediately throw a pick. Again, Harrison Smith made a great play. You don't want to throw a pick there, obviously. That's not great. And unfortunately, you're looking at a team here that over the last few weeks, again, is still winning and losing every week. It's not even like we were on a string of run. We weren't running in terms of wins. We were still up and down every single week. But you're looking at a team that was staying in games by the fact that they weren't turning the ball over. At least we weren't turning the ball over. Our passing game was completely bailing us out in bad situations we put ourselves in. And then defensively, we couldn't make the plays. Well, this game was just, hey, defensively, you're playing a 3rd-string quarterback or whatever it is. They made enough plays to keep us in the game until the very end. They kept us in it. They got a lot of sacks. They got a lot of pressure. That was awesome. I expected Hutch to get pressure. He got 2 sacks. That wasn't a surprise. I'm not going to be over the top about what Hutch did. I expected him to do that. I said he's going to get pressure. Absolutely will get pressure. And he did. Good. He did what he was supposed to do in this game. But the fact that they're going to make plays then defensively, if you already have a slim margin for error, then you can't make your own mistakes. If you have to bake in that they're going to make some plays, which they will make some plays because they're NFL teams too, and they pay people and they have good players, and their scheme defensively has always been very unique, and it's tough to deal with on a short week. I understand all of that. But you cannot then in the same breath flip around and say, hey, man, we're going to give you some things here. Can't give that team things. You can't just give them things. And we did. We just constantly, again, first 5 to 6 drives, you just gave them things. Then immediately you come back out and you fumble near midfield once again on a 1st down and 10. Can't happen. And that one was the goofiest one. I mean, we're getting sacked off the edge from both sides, both Penei Sewell and Dan Skipper. At first, I'm thinking, like, okay, maybe Skipper just lost. You're getting sacked in that spot. Nobody's getting a hand on either edge rusher. I think they were coming for pretty wide alignments. But how do you not get a touch? I mean, this is a part where you do question a lot of the positions we're putting guys in. At least an immediate reaction. I mean, after last week, right, we were talking about zone runs where it's like, we didn't really give ourselves a chance on the backside. You come in this week, they put 7 on the box, you hand off to Gibbs, he loses 5 yards. It's like, dude, he had no chance. You run a stretch run, he couldn't even get to the line of scrimmage. He had 0 chance. And on a play like that, I mean, obviously Goff cannot fumble there. But at the same time, you got to get a touch, dude. There's no reason you don't get a touch on either edge rusher. You're in the shotgun. The drop's not going to get deeper than 3. You got to get a touch. We don't touch either side. That can't happen. That's not even. It just can't happen. I thought it was just Skipper. It was Sewell too. This was the play. Yeah, you lost 3 yards. I'm sorry. It was a 2nd down and 10. You tried to run again. We had no answer for the 7-man front. Let's be honest with you. Our answer for the 7-man front was horrible. Even when we did try to throw it, you're watching it sometimes like, oh, that could have been bad. There was a couple that could have been made. The Khalif one into the flat. That one probably would have been a 1st down. I think it was a 3rd down and long. But this is not new. This is who Minnesota always is. It's not like they threw something at us that was like, oh, Minnesota's playing us a little bit different this week. It's like, no, they're just doing what they do. And as you're watching that game as a fan, I think we all had the same mindset. At least I would think. If you're Minnesota, you bring 7 every play. Like there's no showing and dropping. I think that drive that we continue to push the ball downfield, it was show, drop, show, drop, show, drop. When you got the second half, Minnesota's like, yeah, we're not doing it anymore. Make him find an answer. Like there's no reason to drop anymore because we're dropping, we're giving Goff a chance, and he's seeing downfield and he's hitting guys, and we got guys that can win, and Tesla's coming up big for us. But in the second half, it was like, yeah, we don't need to do that anymore. We're just going to send him. We're just going to send him. We're going to force the ball out of his hands. Beat us with something. Because at that point, it felt like they knew, too, 2nd down, they can't run it. They're not running on 2nd down. We're going to blow that up. They can't even exploit what we're doing. I remember this Lions team in Minnesota a year ago or 2 years ago. We were at like the 12-yard line, maybe 7. We come out in the gun. Stacking a line. Lions hand it off, punch it in the end zone. They score a touchdown on that. They do a short motion, hand it off, he walks to the end zone. This team couldn't do that. This team couldn't do that. Right? You watch it, like, there's no way they could do that. That's not even a threat. To have the next drive stall after great field position, force a field goal, a couple good plays that were made by them defensively. You try to hit St. Brown in that in-breaker. Goff missed him in front. Immediate pressure there. That was an opportunity to take advantage. We didn't. Kylie Freeman, that one gets batted down. And then immediately, you go back out there and you fumble again. Now you're down by 10. You fumble again. Goff getting smacked. We play the game that you can't play against Minnesota, essentially. And the unfortunate part is it didn't feel like we had a great plan to alleviate the pressure. We didn't have a great plan to kind of slow down what was going to get thrown at us constantly in that game, which is disappointing. Yeah, I mean, 6 turnovers, right? And it's, again, most of them are things you control. I can live with a couple of them. I can live with the heave on 3rd and 18, but I can't live with the fact that you're in 3rd and 18. I can live with the fact that you push the heave up off the seam. I like the read. It's just, why are you there? I can kind of live with the Harrison Smith one because it was a good play. At least he had to do something. At least he had to make a play. You put the ball out there. But it's like even to that, some of the throw, like that throw there, like what are the odds that's going to even work? A deep in-breaker against that, like what are the odds that's going to happen? That's not going to be bad. I mean, some of those throws that were bad, you're like, dude, I don't know if that one even had a shot. I mean, if he do we have a real chance here? If he gets his hand on it, and obviously you had to have a plan for that. You had to have a plan to just get the ball out. You didn't want to eliminate your progressions, but we watched the New York Giants last week have 0 passing offense against this team. So you knew they were capable of doing that. They're very capable of doing that. But a lot of those too are just like, I mean, nobody's getting a touch in pass protection. Nobody's getting a touch. To bring it set, if you're outnumbered, there's no reason you don't have an outlet. There's no reason you don't have a hot read to get to. No chance there. Muffing the snap, fumbling the ball. I mean, that's how teams will lose game, right? That's the equalizer. That's the equalizer immediately as you start turning the ball over left and right. And I just think we missed such an opportunity, especially early in this game, to, again, very similar to last week, not play with a lead. I mean, you were going in a half against Pittsburgh. You were going to be up by 7. At worst, you should have been up by 7. That was the game you had to play against them. You had to play with a lead. You knew you couldn't play from behind against Pittsburgh. You knew that was you cannot play behind against this team. And you give a massive touchdown before half. They changed some things at halftime. They beat you up, and you're falling behind. This game, there's no reason. I mean, it wasn't even there down 7-0. Dude, you should have scored in the first half. You're moving the ball. You just kept shooting yourselves in the foot. There's no reason you had 7 points at halftime. It was insane. To watch that team have 7 points was crazy. It's like, dude, I don't know. I mean, it could have been a lot more. It could have been worse. Your defense constantly bailed you out with sacks, which they were supposed to do. But if that's the case, you got to give me something. You got to be up. You got to have some sort of lead in that game. You got to throw some pressure back on Brosmer. You got to give yourself more flexibility. When we got to the point where we didn't have flexibility to play, we were just passing the football. We knew we had to throw the football. So, again, I think it's a mix of, like, one, you can't constantly get out of it. You can't run out of these things. But, again, you put yourself in a spot where it wasn't even in play anymore. So, I think the truth of this team is unfortunate, but it's also real clarity, right? There's going to be little things that need to get adjusted. But the ultimate clarity is there. You got to get better up front. You have to get better up front. There's no doubt. I mean, it's very clear. We all understand. You have to get better up front because right now you can't take advantage of teams that want to stack the line. You can't. Teams want to play 6-man fronts. They can. I mean, think about it. How many explosives do we have when we knew coming in Minnesota's going to play 5-2s. They're going to play 6-1s. Obviously, in pass downs, they're just going to stack the line. That means they have essentially no second-level help. But you can't exploit it. There is no explosive runs. I mean, 3 to 4 runs are cool, right? You should create some movement against these D linemen, right? That was on film. It was like, hey, you can move some of these guys. But at the same time, to have no explosives, that's devastating. No runs pop against these guys. That can't happen. That was the option out when we got down 10-0 against Minnesota. It was a run that popped for us. We can't take advantage of those fronts. We can't take advantage of opportunistic looks where it's like, hey, man, if we get a hat on a hat, we're popping this. Nope, we're going backwards for 5 yards. And some of these runs, you're like, dude, I don't know if we're giving ourselves a chance. And I would say this, a constant issue, and we kind of dabbled in some things that I would have maybe liked to see in hindsight in this game. You have to find a way to continue to give yourself a threat off of some of these handoffs. Like, for example, we came out, I thought the first play was really smart, or maybe it was in the first play, but we had a zone called, I believe, and it turned into an RPO, and Goff just flipped it out to the quick, and we did that a couple of times. I like that. But them attaching that is effective. Just to have them respect it's effective. They're constantly having Goff show a zone read, that's not effective. Nobody bites that. There's not a DN in the NFL that's like, oh, he might keep that. Like, nobody thinks he's keeping that. And I think one thing that we've definitely failed to do is we failed to make that effective. And again, there is a short week, but we failed to have a way to give you some sort of respect level on the backside where it's like, just hold that guy, give us a chance to at least make the numbers work for us. Because right now on that negative play to Gibbs, we're not even getting to the line of scrimmage. We can have it blocked up. We're not even getting there. It's not because of blown block. Those are unblocked defenders. And you have nothing that they are going to respect on the backside. If Goff can't run out of it, which we know, you have to attach something. You have to, and give it to him early. And I thought we did that. And then there was just nothing. There was never anything attached to it. I mean, at times we've dabbled this year. We put who's that quarterback out of Louisville? We had that guy in there one time and it did a little bit. But in those spots, I mean, you got to have something. Go 2-back, go split back. Hand it to Gibbs, show it to Monty. Give him something off the backside. You know who does this well? Green Bay. There's always 2 guys back there. The pony package. You got to respect the heck out of that because you don't know who's getting the ball. If Goff's not going to run and teams are just at this point where it's like, hey, DNs just crash, something on the backside has to make them believe it for a second. Whether it's a bubble screen, a second handoff option, putting a different guy at quarterback. There's nothing there right now that anybody even believes at this point. So overall, there was a lot of this that I'm going to need to watch back to get a better sense of. But I think the overarching takeaways are very clear. Disappointing, but kind of confirming in some ways of like, okay, this is very clear what the issue is here. Just disappointed with the fact that next man up means mistakes. That's the biggest disappointment for me. Next man up all year has meant mistakes. Controllable mistakes. And that just can't be the case. As an NFL coach, there's no way that you can be okay with the fact that happens, that is the case in a lot of these. I mean, I think we've gotten good play out of some of our young guys. I think Tate's grew all year long. I think Tyleek's played pretty good ball for us. I mean, if you look at that touchdown run that they had, the Aaron Jones, that was a good run. I think Hutch fell out of his lane, but we got a lot of push upfield. Rodrigo gets ran over basically on the play. Again, certain times, guys are just going to make plays on the other side. It's like, all right, you respect that. Guys make plays. They got good players too. And there's positives. Tesla's development, Tate, Tyleek, there's positives there. But to have guys that you don't constantly expect to be out there get out there and it's bad. You know who wasn't bad? Jalen Mills. Jalen Mills felt pretty effective. Now he's a vet. And the Lions went to some new guys this week. Fair enough. They didn't have Maddox. I'll tell you what, though, Jalen Mills, he actually looked pretty good. I mean, I only can remember a few plays top of my head, but like that, as a veteran, he came in. It was like, okay, you got what you expected. Maybe that's something that was also missing. Maybe. I don't know. How much has Rishi played? Like, let me see real quick. How old is this dude? Rishi is, I don't know how old he is. I was trying to see because, like, you know, in the past when we had all these injuries, Rishi's UDFA in 2020. I don't know how much he's played before this. Doesn't look like much. 2022, he played a bit. But, like, you know, you would have, like what we leaned on last season with all the injuries was it was vets that would come in. You know, we didn't have young guys stepping in the roles. It was Vildor, Quan Alexander. I mean, it was vets. It was like, hey, you know, they probably lost a step for sure, but at least, you know, you're not going to have that. We've had a lot of that, man. So, yeah, offensive line, it has to get better. I'm okay with the fact that they gave Kingsley the nod in this game. I think Graham was available. I don't know. I would assume he wasn't, but if he was, I think they may have just gave Kingsley the nod, which I can kind of understand because you're looking for who's going to give you the best, and Kingsley brought it last week. But it was messy today. And guys with maybe not a lot of snaps, that's what it turned into. And I think that was maybe an overarching theme of this year. In some ways, you probably relied on some young guys that maybe you shouldn't have, you know, that just weren't ready for that responsibility. And they just weren't there yet. Doesn't mean they can't get there. They just weren't there at this point. Up front, they just weren't there. We're ready to take on those large roles, man. And it's just like, things just kind of spiraled out of control a little bit for us. Ricci is pronounced Ricci. Reach Y. Okay, did I pronounce that right? I don't know. Maybe I did. Kingsley the nod because Graham was out. Okay, Graham was out. Okay. Brad getting blamed. Yeah, like I said, we'll wrap it with this. Brad definitely gets blamed for the fact that I think there was oversight. You know, you bet on the guys that you invest in. He's always done that. But I think this year it got a little overwhelming. And it's like how much you put on that versus coaching staff versus personnel guy. Because coaching staff wise, it didn't feel like we had this many mistakes in the past when we would lose guys. But this season, you know, you got banged up pretty quick at O-line and you bet on the young guys and the guys that you're familiar with to take over that role, and it just didn't happen. Mahogany didn't take the step you probably were hoping he would, that you believed that he would. It just didn't happen. So when the trade deadline came around, you relied on the young guys. I would say for a lot of the season, the cornerback injuries, you thought TA was coming back. He did, then he was back out. You relied on some of the guys that you had here. And I think some of them emerged, like Rock Ya-Sin. Some of them maybe not a little bit. So you definitely, you know, there's blame there for sure. And it's going to be an opportunity to jump on it this offseason and get some of that right. They're not a mile away. They're obviously, they can play with teams, but the margin for error is too small right now, and they beat themselves all the time. So we'll see. It's a good offseason to get it figured out. It stinks that this last game is not going to matter. I'm still pulling for them to go beat Chicago. Obviously, it's going to help their draft stock, but I'll be pulling for them to beat Chicago. I hate that it ended here. I'll be honest, I don't think Baltimore is going to win. I mean, not with Lamar not playing. I think it's going to end anyway. But, you know, you got another week of this, one more week. So at least we got through Christmas with still being in it. You know, we had a chance through Christmas. So at least we had that. But one more week to go at this. We'll recap this a little bit better. Probably starting tomorrow when I get to rewatch this to get some notes. But yeah, I mean, frustrating loss. Fortunately, some of it was just kind of, yeah, that's what you've had all year. You know, I would have liked to come up here and be like, wow, man, I was shocked. I was thinking about this earlier today. Like, man, it'd be great to do a post game today and just be like, wow, dude, I didn't expect us to run the ball like that, man. We were just pounding them. And I was pretty pleased with the defense. I mean, again, they got him off the field on third down. Touched what he was supposed to do. He got pressure. Al-Qadim Muhammad got pressure. We did some good things up front. Aaron Jones made some plays happen on the ground, and they popped the jet run, which was an issue all year. And it was just like, yep, that's how it has to go. It has to go like that. DBs were hitting up to that point. That's how it has to end. So stinks, man. But now I'll rewatch it because I just want to get a better sense of like, dude, do we even give ourselves a chance in some of these offensive plays? Did we give ourselves a chance? I don't know. St. Brown may be hurt. I don't think they're not going to play starters next week unless Dan said that. I don't think that's going to be the case because, to be honest with you, I don't think any of those players should be looking at it from that perspective. I mean, if he's hurt, he's hurt, but there's no way that you can play that and then be like, hey, man, I'm going to check out for the season. And knowing Danny's playing guys when it doesn't matter anyway, we got to finish this thing. We got to finish this thing, dude. We got to have some pride in what we're doing because that's ugly. I mean, you can't go out on 6 turnovers and just be like, hey, man, just move on. At least that would be my mindset. I mean, if y'all want to sit. Put it in the players' hands. You want to sit. If you're cool with how that ended, sit. I know we can't fix in a week anyway, but if you're fine with that being the last taste of your 2025 season, so be it, man. No problem with it. Sit down. Right? But put it in the players' hands, man, because I got to believe with the team makeup that they believe that they've invested in, nobody's going to be sitting after that. It's going to be, I'm getting myself on the field because that was a disaster. That was a disaster. And especially guys like St. Brown. Let's be honest. I'm watching St. Brown drop like 15 passes this season. St. Brown is a dog. He had an absolutely amazing run today after the catch, one of those out routes. But, bro, we're talking about all these things that have been an issue all season, and someone at some different point. I watched you drop a lot of passes this year. There's nobody that's above critique at this point. There's not a player on this roster that's above it. From Penei Sewell to Jared Goff to St. Brown, there's not a player above it right now. Everybody deserves it. Everybody deserves criticism. And they should take it upon themselves. They should take it upon themselves for that. The coach doesn't need to say that. They know it. Especially, man, you guys got paid. I mean, shoot, if this is good enough, take your money. But that's not why we paid you. They didn't pay him to be good enough, to be happy with the fact you got paid. The destination wasn't get paid. You got paid to be a part of what it's going to be, not what it is. That's why you got paid. So we'll see what they do next week. It's disappointing, but yeah. Yeah, we're going to end it here, man. I appreciate you joining, man. Again, Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Hopefully this didn't ruin your day. It didn't for me, which was good. You know, I didn't think the odds were great of us getting in anyway, but I just want to see him win, obviously. But it's it's kind of just what it's been for a lot of this season. So, you got to be more well-rounded than we are. We're not well-rounded right now as a team. So this will be a good offseason to get that right, fix those issues, and move forward, man. Maybe sometimes you need this, We'll learn from it, hopefully. I'm going to get out of here, though. Have a great night. I'll see you guys probably tomorrow. And we'll kind of break this thing down, man. So, Blitz Report, I'll see you guys as well. Appreciate y'all for joining. Have a great night. Merry Christmas. And chat over here on YouTube, man. I appreciate y'all for joining, sticking in. I know I started a little late. I was on the way home. I wasn't home watching it, so I was trying to hurry up and get here. I wish I had better notes for some of this stuff. I just didn't have great notes because I was trying to write down as I was watching it on a piece of paper. So some of this I was like, I don't know. I don't know exactly what I'm seeing here. But when I watch back, we'll be good. We'll be good. We'll be good. I don't need Sheila to act, to be honest with you. I don't need her to. I don't think anybody needs fired, like from a head coach. Like, there's nothing major. She doesn't need to fire Brad. You know what I mean? Like, hey, man, we failed this season. All right, they're gonna acknowledge that. Those guys, you know what I mean? Sometimes you fail, man. We failed this season, but you learn from it. Take it as that. We're gonna learn from it, man. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm not like out on these guys or anything. Just it stinks. Stinks, but still at the end of the day, I mean, we are. I don't know. Yeah, Merry Christmas, y'all. I'll see y'all soon, man. Have a great night. We out of here.